Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. Here we are today on this lovely, well, maybe I shouldn't say lovely, because it is cold as shit up here in Miramichi, New Brunswick. But, we just got to do what we can to get by and stay warm. And yeah, it stays like this where I wish I didn't live in Canada. I wish I lived somewhere warm. I don't care where, but, Florida, Hawaii, just, you know, get me out of this snowy weather. But anyway, that's not important here because yeah, we don't shoot outside. We just shoot inside. So yeah, that's kind of irrelevant. Um, so well, there. Thank you all for tuning in today. Very excited about our guest today. He is none other than Mr. Paul Peditto. He is a award-winning screenwriter who directed the 1995 film "Pictures of Baby Jane Doe," which actually won Best Picture at the New York Independent Film and Video Festival in 1999. And I actually worked. I took a playwriting course taught by Paul with Screenwriters University back in 2020, March 2020, back when the whole world shut down, and kind of helped me get started on this path to, slowly build this theater troupe. And I owe a lot of this to Paul. So I thought it was a great time to have him on here to talk about his very impressive resume, having written, many plays and movies. And yeah, so we will discuss that at length, and we will also be talking about the Emmy Awards and the Oscar Awards. Are they biased? Are there biases with these voters? What's going on with them? And we will also be giving our thoughts on the recently released film "Don't Look Up," starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence. Uh, it's a very polarizing movie, and it's funny because I actually said it's not a movie that it's weird. I don't hate it, but I don't like it at the same time. It's kind of weird, but and having talking with Paul before this, he actually really likes the movie. So it's going to be interesting to hear both sides of uh of the movie, and hear what reasons to like it, reasons to not like it. And we will discuss more of that at length here. So yep, enjoy the show. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. It's me again, Franky Corcoran. I don't gotta say that again. And here we are with our guest, Mr. Paul Peditto, award-winning screenwriter and instructor, having consulted with many writing students across the world. Paul, how you doing, man?
Hey, Frankie, good to see you again.
No, it's great to see you. It's been like, me and Paul actually haven't met in person yet, with all this COVID and stuff like that. But this is the closest we've ever been to do. So, have you been? You've been keeping real busy with this. Your Paul's swamped, so it was hard to even get this going with Paul because he's teaching at like three different, actually more than that, three different. Yeah. So how's that going?
I teach at Columbia College. I've been there for 21 years. I teach at Second City. Been there for about 8 years. Teach up at Chicago Filmmakers, a local organization. I teach at Screenwriting University, which is part of Script Magazine. Have a column for Script Magazine, and of course my blog over at Script Gods Must Die. So I'm keeping busy, Frankie. I've got I don't even know how many classes now, buddy. I may have 12 or more. I've lost count.
It's so hard to keep count. No, that's for sure. So, a lot of my viewers here are they're very interested in theater and stuff like that. Like all my listeners nearby here locally. So, tell me about a little bit of your playwriting and stuff like that. How far back did you realize this was something that you can do, and what's your theater resume like?
Yeah, I'm actually more. I mean, when I croak, I'll be known as a playwright. So,
there you go.
I don't know if that's that my theater output was so inspiring, or that my movie output has been so uninspiring. But I'll tell you the story quickly. The only thing I got out of high school was bachelor cooking, and the only thing. Oh, I got Spanish. I took Spanish for 6 years. That has served me throughout my life. So I shouldn't say that. I did get Spanish out of high school.
Being bilingual will get you lots of places.
Yeah, but college, I had 3 majors, man, and I haven't ended up using none of them. I started as well. I was a jock. I was a football player, and then went in for PA, but I'm sorry, physical educational PE, and then I was a business major, and then I moved over to communications management because my father is a heavy hitter. I mean, my father created hard copy. My father's a major producer. My father discovered Geraldo Rivera.
Oh, go away.
He's gonna have to put in some heavy time in purgatory for that one, my friend.
No, well,
So anyway, this is a long way of saying I was being groomed for communications management, but I never went into that field because what happened is I went to London in my junior year, and through some chemical osmosis, I became a writer over there, and then came back just to graduate, and then I went right back to London for 2.5 years. So I was living over there, hanging out in Europe, drinking wine in castles, thinking I was Shelley,
the hot shot.
Yeah, I started out in poetry, and then when I came back to the States, I met my girlfriend Claire, who's a drug addict, and then we had very tumultuous year and a half. She died in 1985. And then like the week right after she died, I wrote this play, which was called A Fire Was Burning Over the Dumpling House One Chinese New Year. I had no training in theater whatsoever. I didn't know how to write a script, but I just wrote everything down there as I was hearing it in my head. And it's a good thing I did, because I can't hear that woman now anymore. That stuff fades like
just so long ago, kind of thing.
Yeah, fades like a dream. You can't remember how she sounded, but at that time I did. And anyway, so that became my first play. And at the time, my brother Chris, who became a producer at HBO. He started a theater company here in Chicago called Igloo.
Igloo, yes, that's right. Yeah.
And it was one of the first plays they did was this Dumpling House play, and got reviewed by Richard Christensen at the Tribune, who, by the way, just passed away. I just saw his obituary today.
Go away.
Famous Chicago theater critic. And anyway, he slummed. He came to our dinky little theater, and we got tremendous coverage off that, and we sold out for many months, and people were leaving the theater crying, and it's pretty powerful. And then at that time, I was still outside. I didn't come to Chicago till 1988.
Oh, okay.
But when I would write a play, and I was knocking off 2 or 3 plays a year, then my brother would just put them up. It's really nice to have someone in theater, and I'd recommend that for your listeners. I mean, that's the key to getting produced, is having having a presence in the community. The theater companies that are doing the producing, like, try to get in there, meet people, network, and then pass your script around. That's how it happened with me. I didn't have to send any queries or anything like that. I just knew people all around town in theater. But all my stuff was going to Igloo at the time. And I've done 5 or 6 plays for them, my brother, in 3 years. Then what happened is he moved. I'm sorry, this is super long. Then he moved to LA, and at the same time I came to Chicago in 1988, he moved to LA. So Igloo became Igloo LA. But there was no more Igloo here, so I had to look for other theater companies. And I found the Prop Theater, which became my second home. I also produced with Live Bait, Mary Archie Theater, a bunch of other theaters, non-equity theaters here in town. So I ended up with about 20, 25 productions.
Wow, isn't that
I don't know
something?
how many plays, maybe 15, 20 plays I wrote.
Wow, and you published some as well too, eh? You
Yeah,
published
4 of them.
4 of them. Yeah, that's right. So no, wow. So you definitely have a very impressive resume, and also you directed a movie called Pictures of Baby Jane Doe. That's the title, eh? Starring Callista Flockhart, which for those of you who don't know who she is, that is Harrison Ford's now wife. At the time, they were when you did that, they weren't together. I don't think were they? They married, I think, late
Late.
2000s, something like that. So what was it like? How was that whole experience too? And then like, how is it looking back on it now and going like, holy shit, I just worked with Han Solo's wife, like Indiana Jones's wife.
It's hysterical. It's hysterical you say it that way, because that's the way a Gen Z audience would know Callista if they even heard, even if they even recognized her name at all. It would be through that. But Callista, within a year or two of making my movie, was on the cover of Time magazine for being the hottest female lead in a TV show in Ally McBeal. Nobody remembers Ally McBeal anymore. That was just in front of the year 2000. And so that was about 22 years ago. That's why nobody remembers. She was
I've heard that before, though. That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, she was utterly famous. Like, imagine the top female TV star now. That was Callista.
No, I remember I can't remember who I was telling. I said, yeah, Paul, he worked with Callista Flockhart. And they're like, who's that? And I said, Harrison Ford. Right. Oh my God, Harrison Ford. Oh my God, are you serious? Oh my God, that's insane.
That's right. Yeah, after a while, when you teach kids who were born after 9/11, you automatically know what not to reference, because they're not going to know what it is.
No, exactly. It's exactly like there's so many teachers and stuff like that nowadays. They'll make all these like 70s references and stuff like that, and then no one gets it. They're like,
"That's right. What's the point?
Holy shit! Like, am I old? Like am I that old? Kind of thing."
It's pretty sad though, dude. Like I can make a reference to, I don't know, anything in front of Star Wars, and nobody's gonna know.
No, exactly. It's just like 3 different generations. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of scared to see my grandkids what that's going to look like. You know what I mean?
I know. And forget about theater. They're not going to know any of those theater references.
No, God, no, God, no. Like this podcast is going to be like Mary Tyler Moore show. Like it's like that's what 70s, 80s, something like that.
Yeah.
But so I mean, like, having done both, having done like movies and plays, in your opinion, what is more challenging and what is the most rewarding? I mean, like, of course, I mean, like, I haven't done any movies, I've only done plays, but you having done movies and plays, how would you compare both experiences and the production? Like, how is that? How are they different? How are they? Is one easier than the other? What's your take on that?
No, it's a different process, totally, because I never once outlined a play. All those plays I wrote, I started them because thematically I wanted to say something, right? I got pissed off. Something in the world amused me, like something hit me in the face, to the point where I said, I'm investing 3 months and I'm going to write a play about this. But I never once figured out scene to scene to scene to scene, because in plays there's far fewer scenes. So you outlining, okay, we're in that scene, then we're in that, like, you don't do any of that. But for a movie, there's probably 100 scenes in a feature length.
Oh yeah,
can't improvise that. Like, you have to figure all that stuff out ahead of time. That's why everyone outlines in books like Save the Cat and the Sid Field System, so many structural books on how to outline your movie. So it's all blocked out ahead of time. And I never did that with plays. It was much more improvisation and letting the characters talk to me, being surprised by what the characters would say, you know?
Okay.
And in movies, movie scripts, you can't do that, and let alone with TV scripts, because you know what I mean. With TV, they have the board, right? When they're breaking out a story, they spend days and weeks in the writer's room, and they're looking at the board like
Sticky notes and all that.
sticky notes and white cards, and like, okay, we're here. Then what? Then we're here, and then because of that happens. The important thing, the South Park guys, they had this video out on. I always show it to my classes. The two key words in writing are but and therefore. So it's not like this happens, then this happens, then this happens. It's more like this happens, therefore that happened, but this thing happened, therefore that happened.
Oh, okay.
You see how the connectivity, like they're all connected. See?
Wow, that's interesting.
And you don't really think like that in plays, because like I've written 2-act plays where there's 2 scenes.
No, well, that's
you know what I mean?
So just one long first act,
yeah,
and then intermission. Did you put a intermission there too? Okay.
It depends on how much time. Like if you had a 90-minute script, like you'll read it out loud and see how long it takes to read.
Mm.
And then if it's 90 minutes, the chances are very good you're going to have. You could press at your luck and go 90 minutes without intermission. But if it's 1 second longer than that, if I were you, I would do a 60-minute and then 30-minute second act.
No, definitely. And then it's also, I remember you had told this during our my course at the Screenwriters University, is that you always got to keep in mind, how long will the audience want to sit in a theater for? You know what I mean?
Especially with COVID.
Exactly. I mean, some people, oh God, there's so-and-so beside me. Oh my God, I'm not sure where he's been. You know what I mean? Like that's.
You can't like 3 acts nowadays, forget it.
No, definitely. Are there some plays where you're like, okay, I can see where that can be 3 hours or longer, or is it just no exceptions? Just,
I've never written over like 100 minutes, like plus the 15-minute intermission makes it a 2-hour experience. I really think that's the max you want to go.
No, definitely. Absolutely. And I mean, like, of course, for the actors too, I mean, like, it's got to be tiring for them. They're like, holy shit, we're up here for 3 hours sweating. And you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely. So also think about them, and then think about how long will the audience want to sit there for. So what project do you look back on? So it can be like between like the movies you've done or the plays. Which one do you look back on and say like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Like if I were to pick one that I'm the most proud of, which one would you choose?
Well, I mean, so I've written a lot of adaptations.
Oh yes, that's right. Yep.
I mean, I work with Charles Bukowski, who's like one of the greatest,
one of the best,
of the 20th century. He was, I wouldn't say he was a friend of mine, but we knew each other pretty well. I have 15 letters on the wall here from him. And I'm in his 3rd book of letters. So that Charles Bukowski project was pretty cool. Of course, doing the Jane Doe, that was my best original piece probably. But I would say the most successful was when I did the Nelson Algren adaptation, the Never Come Morning, which was the second book. And we won all the Jeff Awards for that. We won across the board, every category.
Oh, really? Wow.
12 Jeffs in 1994, I think. So, we swept the Jeffs. And that has become very, very close to getting made as a movie. But it's got kind of a bummer ending, and it's been hard to get over the top with that one. It's a period piece set in Chicago with the Polish youth gangs of the 40s. And then the leader of that gang is a great boxer.
Okay.
And he's given a choice. Like, he basically has to either kind of give up the gang ways to become a boxer, or succumb to the old life kind of thing.
Oh, okay, so kind of like one of those,
Morality tale.
where does his morality and his
Yes.
and all that lie? What kind of
Yes.
person does he want to be?
Yeah, it's a great book. You check it out. It's called Never Come Morning.
Oh, okay, absolutely. No, wow, that's so. Tell me a little bit about Charles Bukowski. How was that all? Like that's quite the honor there, eh? Like that's
That was,
pretty.
yeah, that was a funny story. So at Igloo, my brother, tried to do this Bukowski adaptation. And in those days, our roles were much more defined. Like I was just the writer, and he was basically everything else. He didn't try to write, and I didn't try to produce, direct, or do anything. Of course, later we tried to do other stuff. Chris has written stuff since then, and I've produced stuff since then. But back then, like our roles were very defined. So he did this Bukowski piece, and he was one of my favorite writers. And I said, that's horrible. He's like, well, then you do better. And so I still have 20 Bukowski books over there on the shelf. And
You're like, watch me.
grabbed a bunch of books and just started like, just like without any regard whatsoever to rights. That was a glorious ignorant days. Like I just, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. And oh, by the way, am I allowed to say fuck?
Oh yeah, you're fine. Yeah. Yeah, no.
So
Beep. No.
So I pulled these books down, and I just started taking pieces out of every book, and then I weave the characters together. And if there were two different characters, I would create one, and then I would meld the dialogue in, and then I would have their paths cross. So that was what the adapter does in that situation, where the dialogue already existed, but the world didn't. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the characters were just characters in poems. They didn't exist in a play. So I created a bunch of stuff for that. And so Chris left for LA, and we never got to put that up there, but the prop desperately wanted to do that. And the Scott Vigil, the head of the prop at that time, said he had a friend who knew where Bukowski lived. And so he drove his car out there and slammed a copy of the script in his mailbox. And then, like, I don't know, a month later, I got a letter from Charles Bukowski, right? Wait a minute. Can I just go?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You have to free. Wow. So there you go. So for those of you watching the video version, Paul's office. Wow, that's quite the decor.
So yeah, so I got the first letter from him.
And, oh my gosh!
Just letters, like these letters, the only thing's worth any money in my apartment. So if you're gonna rob me, go right for the.
Just letter. Go grab that. I'll get Paul's address. 555. No.
He said, I thought the play read condensed, brisk, bloody, and bright. Good show. So that was a hell of a nice review from my hero.
Wow, that's crazy. Then, that's really good.
We got the rights, man. He gave me John Martin from Black Sparrow. He gave me John Martin's address, and we got a super cheap deal on the rights. And then we produced that here in Chicago, and then that went on to National Public Radio, and Bukowski actually saw that production. It was on the air in LA, and Harris Yulin played the old Bukowski. Harris Yulin's pretty well known, and Bukowski was still alive then. He showed up. We bought all the actors' drinks. It was a fun night.
Wow.
And so that's the story with that one.
Wow, it's crazy. Like one of your heroes too. You know what I mean? Like that's that's something crazy. Wow, like that. Yeah. I'm kind of just blown away. Like put myself in your shoes. Like imagine that being one of your heroes too, and you're like, holy shit.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah, like if anyone is gonna break into your house, that's the
Go
one
right
thing
for the letters.
you guard that with your life.
Yeah.
You know,
Go right for the letters.
exactly. So I was wondering your opinion on this. So as COVID last 2 years, it's affected theater tremendously. But you look at something like sports, where sports are still like they're still ongoing during the pandemic, and I'm even seeing lots of pictures of games going on in the States, and there's still lots of huge crowds, and like no social distancing at all, and yet theater's been really affected, like it's been really shit on these last
Crazy.
2 years. It's
Crazy,
unreal.
right?
No, exactly. So where do you stand on that whole thing? Where like, oh hey, well, if sports can happen, why can't theater too? You know what I mean? Do you have
Yeah. I mean, you look at that, and that's the way it is in certain places, like in New York. You'll you'll go into the grocery store and you have to wear the mask, but then
yeah.
you go into the Amway and nobody's wearing a mask.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Like
It's like, I don't get it. Like, so are we doing this on a per case basis? I mean, there's no consistency here. With theater, they shut down Chicago entirely in the first waves. We were down completely. Nobody was producing.
no, exactly.
Well
Well,
over
back then it was so unpredictable too, because they're like, holy, like this is something new. How do we deal with this too?
Right. But since the vaccines, they have opened up slightly. I wouldn't say things are going gangbusters here, but yes, there's definitely a theatrical theater happening. But that's, of course, masked, and even vaccine cards.
No, exactly. That's a huge thing now. Like
Huge. And so that's what Chicago is right now. There is a limited theater going on. I can't imagine that they're doing great box office, man. Come on, they're not. So it's got to be hard for the bigger budget shows to come in here. It's probably why there aren't a lot of them. And even for the non-equity smaller shows, I mean, I think expectations have been ramped up to the point where it's almost like, well, it's better than being closed. Like, you know what I mean? Like a 1/3 house, a half a house. It's better than being closed completely, kind of thing.
and have no money coming in, kind of thing.
And have no money,
no income,
yeah.
no.
My friends at Prop had to sell their building. They
Really?
Well, they can't. How are you paying rent when there's no money?
That's the thing. Like, it's one thing running your own company where like but then it's also another thing where you have your own building and your own theater, and your shows help keep the lights on there. But if you're not doing any shows and you still got people to pay, like how do you manage?
Can't do it. You can't hold up for very long. The government did give, local and federal government did give funds, which really help. But that's over with now. So it's not easy, and we're in the middle of winter here. So who the hell wants to go? I'm not Nanook of the North here. I've got to hustle through sludgy streets, get on a gross, disgusting red line to go to a theater show and pay $30-$40 to see that. Fuck that. I'm not going to do it.
No, exactly. So then you also got to like weigh up both sides, because then you got to put yourself in the shoes of an audience member too. You're like, okay, am I going to do this? Can't always go by, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's like, no. It's a different ballgame when you're running a business,
Plus with Omicron, like the new wave, it's still dangerous out there. You don't have the numbers of people dying that we do every day.
No, I mean, like, it's definitely, I mean, like, it's running rampant all throughout the world too. And I mean, like, especially, trying to do theater, it's going to be a little hard to try and get it back up on its feet again. But so I mentioned this at the start of the show. So I took a course with Paul. This is how I know Paul, through Screenwriters University. so Paul has been an excellent coach in helping me kickstart my playwriting ventures. So tell us a little bit about like if there's anybody around here in Miramichi who want to pursue playwriting or any type of creative writing endeavor. Feel free to tell us how anyone around here can do that.
Well, most of my classes are screenwriting for movies or TV, but I do have one for theater at Screenwriting University. It's called Intro to Screenwriting. It's a short class. It's only 4 weeks, but it's really cheap
and very in depth.
And it's, in the end, if you're doing a 15-minute play, you could finish that. Otherwise, you're just going to be finishing a long scene toward a longer play. You're not going to finish any kind of 1 act or 2 acts in 4 weeks, but it's worthwhile. And very few people do intro to playwriting these days. So it's nice. It's a nice break for me to do some plays, and
no, absolutely. And then, I mean, like, even after I finished the course, I even, I started writing some more shows, and I even consulted with you and your brother, Chris. And you and I have also stayed in touch on many scripts that I've been working on. And so tell us a little bit about Script Gods Must Die, because that's another little consultancy service that you provide.
Yeah, that's my blog. I mean, I've had that blog for 10 years. I admit I do not write as much as I used to for that blog.
You're just so busy, man. Like that's
I don't have time. Yeah, I don't have time. In fact, I had that column at Script Magazine, and I've stopped doing that as of like a year and a half ago because I just don't have the time. I don't have the time to do it, man.
Hell, getting you on here today was crazy enough because as soon as I approached you with this, you're like, yeah, you're definitely going to have to give me lots of notice before we start this because you're like, I gotta, so.
Yeah, I'm glad we found the time though. But yeah, so I'm sorry. Remind me, what was the Script Gods Must
Die? Yeah.
So I've had that blog for 10 years. If you go to that blog and punch in any topic on screenwriting, there is some stuff on playwriting on there. Go to also, I do script consultancy on there. So if you want to get your script looked at, I can do that for you. I'm happy to do that. And then I also got that column at Script Magazine where I've talked a lot about plays. Wrote a half dozen or a dozen articles about playwriting, adapting, right? Like taking for the stage, like taking a book, or how do you do it? Like taking newspaper articles and making a whole play about it. So if you're interested in that, I've written some of that stuff.
Paul's the man. That's all I can say. Paul's the man. And I will share your links on our Facebook and Instagram pages too. So if people are interested in that kind of stuff, I do know some people who are interested in writing, and they've been, trying to find ways to cope with COVID, no theater and stuff like that. So they've been, doing some writing of their own, but definitely if they want to help improve their skills, you're definitely the man. You know what I mean? Like that's,
I tell you, you're onto something with the podcast, Franky, because this is taking control, being creative, doing it cheaply. I'm all about micro budget, especially in the COVID era. How are you supposed to get stuff made? If you can't interact with people, how are you supposed to get stuff made? Well, you do something really cheap, like a web series, podcast, even a really, really cheap short film.
No, absolutely. And thank you for that too. I mean, like that's, because I mean, this whole thing kind of came into fruition too, around the time, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I mentioned to you before, my directorial debut of those 2 1-acts that I had written, we had to postpone that to later on this year. It was supposed to happen in October. And so it was around that time when I'm like, well, shit, like, like there goes Corcoran Entertainment's whole plan. So but then the podcast, I've been really into podcasts, like Bill Burr has a podcast that I listen to all the time, or Joe Rogan, stuff like that. So I figured this is the great way to, and also to get you to, in a way, meet some of the people who I know, who I've told them all about you. Now they kind of get to see, oh, this is the guy that you never shut up about, like. So
By the
that's,
way, we Americans love how you say about.
hey, about. Yeah. We don't always say that, but I mean, it's very.
It's cool. It's cool.
No, that's it. So yeah, we'll move into our first main topic today, which is, are the Oscars and the Emmys biased? So basically, this kind of whole a good example of that would be, so I know you've probably watched Better Call Saul, right? You've watched Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. So I first thought it was the first year that Better Call Saul was on, where if you remember the episode where it was basically Mike's backstory, Jonathan Banks' backstory, he was nominated for outstanding supporting actor for that episode. And it was this whole thing of, oh, Jonathan Banks is going to get it. Jonathan Banks is going to win. But the year before, Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones was snubbed for his amazing performance in whatever episode that was. I actually haven't seen Game of Thrones, but yeah, just to throw that out there. And so the following year, when you look at all the performances, everybody agreed, okay, that was Jonathan Banks' year. And they gave it to Peter Dinklage, who didn't really have much to do that year, I'm told. He didn't really have much to do that season that Jonathan Banks was also nominated for that same year. So it also seemed like it was kind of a, well, here you go, Peter. Sorry, we didn't give you your award last year, so here it is right here. And even he was like, I didn't prepare a speech because I thought Jonathan Banks was going to win it. So what's your opinion on that? Do you think like there's even some sort of like, oh, sorry, we didn't give it to you this year, but we'll give it to you next year? Like, do you think there's some sort of...
Oh yeah, they do that all the time, don't they? In the Oscars, where there's like a slight and then they correct it the next year.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh shit, so sorry guys, sorry, we meant to give it to you, but
Yeah, they do that all the time. They'll put someone in a category, or they'll, Scorsese like has been passed over for so many great movies. Then he finally won for a movie that I didn't think was all that great. And
which one was that?
The one with DiCaprio. Well, all his movies are with DiCaprio.
Wolf of Wall Street.
We could look that up. I'm blanking on the name. It's the one.
I can't remember if Wolf of Wall Street.
The mob one. But then again, all his movies are the mob one.
Yeah.
I got to do better on specifying.
There's so many of them.
He finally broke through. But come on, he was nominated for so many better movies. But yeah, if you're talking about the bias, usually, I mean, you're moving toward the racial bias thing, which has been in the news lately. I mean, have you looked at this year's contenders?
No, well, I actually haven't taken a look at the list. I see there's lots of people, there's so many different, like, it's weird because there's still a lot of people who look at movies like Spider-Man and say, oh, so-and-so has to get a nomination. It's like, well, I don't necessarily think that's really, I mean, like, I'm seeing lots of people saying, oh, Tom Holland has to win for Spider-Man this year. I'm like, well, no, just because it was a great movie and it was probably the best performance of his career doesn't necessarily mean it was better than, let's say, like, Leonardo DiCaprio in Don't Look Up, which, I mean, like, say what you want. I can say what I want about that movie, but Leo did a tremendous job in that movie. Like, what I mean? I'd certainly give him all the awards if I could.
Well, I went over the Oscars with a class on, was it Thursday? I showed a list of like the anticipated top 10 for Best Picture, and then all the different anticipated, because it's not been announced yet.
No, not yet. No.
And it was so predictable. Like, when I asked who saw West Side Story, I mean, this is a play that has Spielberg directing. Play is the source, and not one person had seen it.
Really? Like that's
And then I asked who'd seen the Spider-Man, and almost no one didn't raise their hand. So typical that, now it's all event movies. And I'm like, do you actually feel that Spider-Man is the equal of West Side Story?
I mean, like, I normally say that too, but then again, if you watch the new Spider-Man movie, Willem Dafoe, I say this a lot. He made that movie. You know what I mean? I mean, like, but then again, is it an Oscar-worthy performance when you look at all the other ones that, like, I see some people there was a bit of controversy last year that Anthony Hopkins won over the late Chadwick Boseman. Some people said, "Oh, it's distasteful that they wouldn't give it to Chadwick because he passed." And I'm like, well, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, like, of course, I didn't see the movie Chadwick was in, but I mean, like, and he was a tremendous actor.
Yeah,
But,
so
yeah,
that's well, there's two things. With West Side Story, they questioned whether it should even be remade. And of course, if you remember the first West Side Story, it was all basically white. It was completely white bread, yeah, they're really tough in a gang from Juilliard dance school, and now, of course, there's no way you could get that movie made without massive casting of Latinos and making it, whatever, politically correct. And it could never, it wouldn't have been ripped apart,
especially in today's society. Yeah.
And so that this is, this is the subject here. This is the important thing, Franky, is that, I mean, it's just, it's very interesting, as far as writing. I mean, whatever, we can get into a controversial subject here, slightly off topic. Like, you can't imagine how many times I have, a 55-year-old white guy saying, well, I've got a African-American 13-year-old character I want to write, but I don't think that I should do it because that's not who I am. Like, they don't feel enabled to write that character. They're afraid to write that character
just because of, like,
racial bias.
Exactly. Because even if you're not, like, doing it in a weird,
right,
hurtful way, people are, you're still worried someone's going to look at that and try to twist it.
You're worried. Yeah, you're worried. And that's crazy. That's crazy. And it angers me. And I've learned to, like, hold my tongue. I've learned to bite my tongue because I just want to scream, like, well, why can't you write that? Because you don't fit the mold, because you're white. Like, why can't you write that? And so it's interesting, whatever. I heard, like, for West Side Story, they got some grief because they're supposed to be Puerto Rican, but they hired a Cuban actor, and they were getting on the case of the producers because it's like, well, why didn't you hire Puerto Rican actors? Like, there's always people out there, right, who are like, you couldn't, you're disqualifying this person, these people. And so that's racial, that racial bias, of course. Like, that was a huge deal a few years ago with the Oscars, right, where they
Absolutely,
suddenly, like, every best picture was African American. Like, okay, here you go, 8 out of 10. Is that enough for you?
Yeah. That's it, exactly.
How much is enough? So it's all political, and it goes the other way too. You saw that stuff they're doing with the banning of books in Tennessee. Did you see that?
Yeah, I read something about that. I saw that on Facebook. Yeah,
it's all connected. Like, this is all, like, it's not just one political side or another. It's all, like, culture is being politicized. It's a football, it's each side. Like, you're banning books that have been out there forever. And
Like I see somewhere they were trying to ban like Captain Underpants and stuff like that. I'm like, geez, that's been out.
right,
That's been out since I was a little kid. Now we're making a big deal of it. Like, did you guys like?
right. We're going to get rid of these 2 Dr. Seuss stories because they have offensive characters.
Like, it's just like, come on. Like, it's just, and I mean, same with the Oscars too. And I mean, like, I even saw someone say about Heath Ledger when he won. I believe he won outstanding actor for or supporting actor for his portrayal as the Joker, and he won it after he passed. Someone said, "Oh, they just gave that to him because he passed." It's like, well, no, it's amazing performance. Like, if you watch The Dark Knight,
all-time performance.
Like, my gosh, like top 10 of the greatest, honestly, in my opinion.
You just have to dial these people out. It's the same thing with your writing. I would tell your listeners, like, forget it. Like, you have your own inner compass. You know what you're writing is good. Forget about what these assholes say. It doesn't matter. Like, you just forge ahead and don't worry about their stupid little opinions.
No, exactly. And I mean, same goes with like the Oscar and Emmy voters. I'm sure there's going to be lots of people who are telling the voters, yeah, don't listen to a so-and-so saying that. Like, that's not their job. You know what I mean? Like, that's your job, But I mean, like, definitely doesn't mean we can't express our opinions on it for sure. So it's definitely an interesting time we're in. That's for sure. Like, it's
yeah. I would say the most interesting movie. There's a lot of. Well, also it's fascinating to see a show of hands, like how many of those lead Oscar movies folks haven't seen because they're not getting into theaters.
No, exactly. Yeah,
and not all of them are on streaming. And so you didn't see Tick Tick Boom or Belfast or even Don't Look Up.
I still got to see Tick Tick Boom because Andrew Garfield is in it. He's a fantastic actor. I still have to check that out. I meant to. I never got around to it, but
that's about the Rent guy.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and
that's another theater. So there's 2 major theater adaptation style Oscar rated movies.
No, so I mean, like, is there any like it could be the Oscars or the Emmys? Is there anyone in particular where you think like, okay, that person shouldn't have won? It was clearly so and so should have won it. You know what I mean? Like, is there one that comes to you off the top of your head, or is it?
Oh, good question. I don't. I'll be honest. I don't really watch the Oscars anymore.
Yeah, no, I kind of tuned out on those a while back, but I mean, like, the Emmys, I still keep up with because I love Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. And,
the speeches are kind of boring. I mean, I love those shows you're mentioning are my all-time favorites. I mean,
like top 2 for me. Like, that's they're
I mean, I love Better Call Saul because it's kind of moving in reverse toward where we left off with Breaking Bad. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But the one thing that I hate though with regards to like awards and stuff like that is that Better Call Saul's acting is phenomenal, but they're getting so especially like when Game of Thrones was still around, like they were just being like tossed aside like a shitty pair of underwear. You know what I mean? Like Jonathan Banks, why he hasn't won one for Mike is still beyond me. I'm hoping he's got one more chance with this final season. But I mean, I'm hoping
he's great.
And even and Bryan Cranston won, I think, like every single year too. So I mean, like, do you think there was a little bit of hold on? Like, they should have went back and looked at the other performances, because I know there was controversy one year. It was Matthew McConaughey and Bryan Cranston were nominated the same year. Bryan Cranston was nominated for the last 8 episodes, and Matthew McConaughey was nominated for, I think it was the first season of True Detective. They gave it to Cranston, and people were like, "That's bullshit."
Fantastic True Detective. He was great in that, wasn't he?
Oh my God, absolutely. Yeah, I watched the first season. I never watched the second, but McConaughey is tremendously talented, man.
Second season was nowhere as good as the first.
But I mean, if you look at Cranston in those last 8 episodes of Breaking Bad, you know what I mean? Like, part of it's also kind of like, okay, this is his last time. Should we just give it to him just to, just to say, okay, here you go. Sorry, sorry, McConaughey, maybe next year. But then again, he wasn't in season 2, so
it's a good question. It's all subjective, isn't it? So then it's like, well, who gets the votes? And that's what they're analyzing with these biases, like who gets to vote. That's really where they're at. Like, we want more people of color, and we want more people in there with diverse, right? The famous
exactly.
equity. the words that the words that every 55-year-old white guy starts itching when he starts hearing equity, diversity, and like basically like everyone but you, 55-year-old white guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're looking for more diversity in our teachers. Oh, so I'm fired.
Yeah. Paul's just like, yeah, see ya, I'm done. But that's the thing nowadays too. And I mean, like, hopefully nobody listens to this and be like, oh, what are they talking about? It's like, no, we're not saying anything about the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're just explaining how our society works now.
Dude, I'm a complete lefty. Are you kidding me? I am not a righty in any way, shape, or form, and let me go on the record saying that. But
no,
but we're just making note of certain things that are out there. That's the truth,
No, exactly.
That's what's going on with Don't Look Up. I mean, that movie is so polarizing. People seem to hate it or love it. I'm in the love it side, but I can't tell you how many people on Facebook have just despised that movie. And that movie is all about it's a satire on what the current culture is.
No, exactly. Exactly. And I mean, like, speaking of that will bring us to our second and final main topic today. So, I mean, like, also, guys, feel free to leave your thoughts on Instagram, Facebook, all social media. Your thoughts. Are the Emmys and Oscars biased? Definitely be sure to let us know your thoughts. And also be sure to let us know your thoughts on Don't Look Up, which we are about to discuss. So, it's interesting for sure. I mean, I love Adam McKay. Adam McKay is, Anchorman, I always say, is my favorite comedy of all time. Anchorman 1 and 2 are all, I love those movies. There are two movies where it's like, if I'm in a real shitty mood and I see a good laugh, I just watch Anchorman. It's just like, Adam McKay is a genius writer and director.
Where did he study?
What's that?
Where did he study?
Screenwriters University.
Second City.
Oh, look at that. Did you teach them?
No.
No.
Second City has graduated so many huge writers and performers. It's crazy.
Unreal. And then you're also teaching there. You're like, yeah, that's where I work. I work there. Yeah.
I haven't drunk their Kool-Aid really, but you can't deny it. Like,
shout out to Second
all the
City.
famous names who have come out of there. He's top of the list.
Absolutely.
And, his new thing, I don't know if you heard this, they got the rights to do the race for the COVID vaccine.
Oh, really?
That'll be the next movie. Can you imagine the satire you can pull out of?
Oh my gosh, that would be
Trump
so
character. Please, it's perfect for him.
Wow. I mean, I actually didn't hear about that, but oh my God, that's going to be one people can relate to so much, especially after all this that's been going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, Don't Look Up. I mean, like, it's got amazing performances. That's one thing that, there might be a movie there where, you might not like it, but you can't deny that the performances, I mean, like, hell, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. It's all you need to, you know what I mean? Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Jonah Hill. Like, oh my gosh. Like, that was the first time I saw him in a movie in how many years? I had no idea. I'm like, is he acting anymore or what's going on? And he did a great job as he was the president's son. That was yeah. And so I thought he just nailed it. Meryl Streep. Oh my God. She played the perfect, president smoking in the office, like not giving a shit about, the world's ending. Oh, you're out of your mind kind of thing. But I mean, like, so what are your thoughts on the movie as a whole? Like,
he allowed her to improvise because of his Second City.
Oh, really?
Background. Yeah, she was doing plenty of. I've seen outtakes of some of her improvs, and that's the thing, right? Where you allow the actors to. So you have the way the script is read, right? So maybe when you're on set, you do it once. This is the way I would do it to be safe. I would do, okay, let's do it exactly as the script says a few times. Let's get that down. Now we're going to spend, if you have time, now we're going to do 5 takes improvising. So you do both ways.
Oh, okay.
So when you get to the edit room, if none of
Which
the
one
improvs,
sticks, you know?
yeah, if none of the improvs are any good, you just flush them. But I'm going to give Meryl Streep a chance to improvise. Yes, if
It's
I
Meryl
can.
Streep, and I love when actors have that freedom too. They're just like, you know what, you're a very accomplished actor. Just do your thing, and we'll figure out what works later. Like, you
That's
know,
right. We'll figure it out in the edit room. Yes.
exactly. And then they're probably just sitting there scratching their heads like, shit, how do we, you know? So they definitely hit a home run on the casting. But I mean, the movie as a whole, like, what did you think?
Well,
Was
it's
it?
controversial because people aren't getting that it's. I don't know that they're understanding that it's outright. It's a satire. It's like Network, which is an old 70s movie that won the Oscar. No one's ever going to know, even in film school. Too bad, because it spoke about the times.
Is that about the news anchor who?
Yes, who
Oh,
decides he's going to
Howard
he's going
Beale.
to kill himself. Yeah,
Howard Beale. Yes, that was on
yeah,
Broadway. I was hoping to get to see that, but
yeah.
the
He
month
loses
before
it.
we got there, it was off. I was like, oh shit. It was Bryan Cranston was on it.
He loses it. Oh, Bryan Cranston was playing Howard Beale. Wow.
Yeah, in New York. Yeah, like
He loses it. Yeah, he loses it and decides to announce on the air that he's going to kill himself. And then from that point on, he becomes a superstar, and ratings go through the roof with his rants. He rants on the TV, and his ratings go through the roof. And then all the corporate types take advantage of that. They're using him, milking him. And so with this one, it's a simple thing. It's like don't look up. Like, don't look up because it's not there. Like, there's an asteroid that's going to kill us. No, there isn't. Yes, there is. No, there isn't. And it's like that fundamental, like that's what's going on in American politics now, with half this country is split right down the middle, you know? And so he captured that with the satire of this. It's not laugh out loud comedy. It's not Hangover 2. You know what I mean? It's
no, God, no.
that's different. Like, it's not Bad Santa. It's more wry,
Like a black comedy. That's the
ironic. Yeah, it's thought comedy, and you have to come prepared, like, to catch, like, a line could go by and you weren't listening and you didn't catch the gag there. If you're not listening, you have to bring game to watch that movie. You can't just sit back like a slug and watch that movie. And anyway, so DiCaprio has a rant if you saw that movie, he has a rant in a TV studio.
Oh, so
exactly,
good. So
exactly
good.
like Network. It's right out of Network, man. And then there's two endings after it's never been done. Like, there's after the credit roll.
There was a after credit scene with Jonah Hill's character coming out trying to find a Wi-Fi signal.
and then when they're on the other planet.
Yes, that's right, too. Yeah.
There's like two. Who does that after the title credits? Nobody.
No, my gosh, like,
really
it's
genius. Really a genius way to do it. And so I'm in the love it camp with that one, but I understand why people are just panning it, because I don't think they're getting that it's satire, that it's not laugh out loud. You know?
No, exactly. And I mean, like, you know, definitely after first viewing, I was a little bit like, oh my God, like, really? Like, that wasn't really. But then I watched it again and I know what they were kind of going for. So if I were to rate it, I give it maybe a 6.5 or a 7. So, I mean, it's not bad by any means, but I definitely think it's thing I kept going back and forth on was the tone. And I mean, like, you know, I get it. It's supposed to be a black comedy, but it was the feel of it too. I'm kind of like, I'm not really sure. Like, their tones kind of going all over the place. Like, one second it feels like it is a black comedy, and the next second I'm like, no,
it feels like a drama. You mean
a drama? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And that's where you lose an audience, right? Where it's like, well, just come on, give me a break.
Should I be laughing? Should I be?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and that's really good that you notice that. When you can't nail down the genre, then the audience doesn't know what they're watching. And then what happens is they detach.
Yeah, exactly.
They detach.
Exactly.
You lost them. And then That's it.
It'd be like, I mean, like, this isn't exactly an apples to apples comparison, but it would be like someone watching Home Alone and, watching Joe Pesci get hit and stuff like that. They're like, am I supposed to be laughing or or am I
Right.
supposed to be? And I mean, like, of course it's comedy, but then again, if someone was watching it for the first time in today's society, they
Right.
might say, is this like a horror movie or like, what am I watching? But
Yeah, it's 'cause
that was my
satire-
like gripe with the movie.
Satire approximates reality. It approximates a drama. It takes you in, leads you in, and you're looking at it like this is very real. And then stuff starts happening that's super weird, and it gets
Yeah.
weirder and weirder and weirder. It's almost like a mockumentary where it appears like it's real, but then the makers of the film start fucking with you and going further and further out, and you're trapped. You can't get out now, and they go further and further out. I think that's what was happening with Don't Look Up. It approximates reality, and I thought people maybe they thought it's drama. That's what I mean. Like, it's not drama; it's a satire.
No, exactly. And I mean, that's really where my only or like main critiques come from. It's just trying to figure out what they're going for. I know it's a satire, I know it's black comedy, but it also feels too dramatic. It feels too just silly, especially with the president, smoking a cigarette and stuff like that. And I mean, like, then again, I mean, like, I think that is fairly realistic. I'm sure you might have some politicians who just really don't give a flying fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's, but I do admire that they had the guts to actually just go through with the world ending at the end.
Oh, I know.
Because the tone was so all over the place where I'm thinking like, oh, it's going to be like last minute and it's going to be like an April Fool's joke or something like that. I genuinely thought that's where it was going. Like, it was just going to be this big joke.
With that dinner scene?
That dinner scene, yeah.
Great.
Beautiful final scene where, Leonardo DiCaprio is just, we really had it all, didn't we? Like, that hits you.
But you see that illustrates your point, because that dinner scene was straight drama.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Straight drama. Like, there was no winking in there. There was no satire in there. That dinner scene was straight drama. And maybe that's where the issue is. Like, some of the scenes are straight drama, but then you mutilate the drama when you do these out there satire scenes.
Exactly. And I mean, like, so, I mean, yeah, you're right. It was just straight drama. It wasn't like, oh, we really had it all, didn't we? And then like right before, like, they played the Seinfeld theme or something like that. You know what I mean?
You just ruined the movie for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
you gave away the ending, dude.
So those of you watching, I take it you have seen the movie, by the way.
Too late now. You ruined it.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I definitely say, I'm like, yeah, we'll be talking the movie at length. So if you haven't seen it, just get away. But yeah, I do really. I mean, I'm like, do you admire the fact that they were willing to go there and actually be like, instead of like, that's pretty.
Oh yeah, that he does. This is what he does. He does the true events. He does a satirical take on true events and tries to interpret the world around us, which is what a great artist does. And he's like the Aaron Sorkin of satire for me right now.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Aaron Sorkin, for those who don't know, he adapted To Kill a Mockingbird on a Broadway with Jeff Daniels. So some of my fellow theater friends know, because we actually saw them on Broadway. So
there was a big fight. There was a big fight over that. They almost didn't get the rights because he made.
Yes, I did hear about that too. I did lots of reading up about that. Like, that was quite the.
He made a lot of changes, and he had to fight to get those through.
Exactly. No, and hey, they should do Don't Look Up on Broadway next. Like,
yes.
Just gonna throw it out there.
Yes.
But I mean, like, if you were to give it a score out of 10, how would you rate it? I mean, like, you loved it, you say. So I mean, like, basically just summarize your thoughts, overall thoughts of the movie, and then with a score of 10.
I liked it more than you. I would give it 8.5 or 9. And honestly, I don't usually like DiCaprio. I'm not a huge fan.
Really?
I am. And this was like one of the best things he did.
Wolf of Wall Street? Not even Wolf of Wall Street?
No.
You like? No, really. That's my favorite DiCaprio role.
That was so over the top that it was so screechy and over the top that I just Also, Jonah Hill is kind of a giant douchebag.
In the Wolf of Wall Street. Oh my God, yes. Like he's
just in general. I mean, I'm not going to say I liked it more as a fat kid, but I did, you know.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, he's a great actor for sure, and I mean, like there's definitely certain points where you're like, is this the kid from Superbad?
Yeah,
or is this the kid from 21 Jump Street? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy how
when
much
he thinned
he's grown.
out. When he thinned out, like every role since then, I've kind of not enjoyed it.
It's kind of like Zach Galifianakis. Like, I really enjoyed him when he was real big, and then he lost the weight, and now, not that his movies aren't good, but now I'm kind of like, okay,
Kevin Smith too. Kevin Smith.
I find Kevin Smith has actually stayed the same. Kevin Smith, I've always loved Kevin Smith.
Me too.
I think he hasn't really, I mean, like, you know, big or small, he's always hilarious. I love Kevin Smith.
He's also a model for the podcast model.
Oh, is he really?
Successful podcaster.
Geez, I'll have to have him on sometime.
Yeah, or you try to get on his show.
Yeah. One of the two. That might take a few years, but but for me, so yeah, like I said, I'm gonna give it about a 7. I think the performances were fantastic. Just the tone, they should have picked a more consistent tone, in my opinion. But I mean, like, you know, it's a black comedy. It's tricky. Some people might say no, it was the perfect tone. It was a perfect you know, flow. But that's the best part about movies, is that they're all subjective. You know, so that's.
We'll see what the Oscars have to say. I'm pretty sure it's going to win a few.
Oh, it's got to get something. I think it's going to win something. I mean, or even if it don't win, maybe it'll be not nominated in the least. You know what I mean? Like that's so yeah, that's our review of Don't Look Up. So Paul gave it a 8.5 to 9, one of the two. Are you leaning more towards 8.5 or lean more towards a 9?
9.
9. Okay, so Paul gave it a 9. I gave it a 7. What would you guys rate it? I think I'll probably do a poll on Spotify for this one. So what were your thoughts on Don't Look Up on Netflix? Definitely check it out. I mean, we're definitely not, I mean, like, you know, well, we just did a spoiler talk. So, I mean, if you're, for those of you watching who were just like, okay, I'm just going to listen to it, but I haven't seen the movie, definitely still check it out. I would still recommend it, and, you know, definitely give us your opinions on it. Don't listen to us. Don't let us sway you, or, you know, or push it in the opposite direction. But so yeah, that's the show today. So Paul, any final words just before we wrap it up here, or where can people find you?
You keep doing what you're doing, man. I really enjoyed today. I thought we talked about a bunch of stuff. So long as people don't come across thinking I'm a racist.
No, my God, no, Paul is far from that. Trust me, guys. We're just putting out society as it is.
I'm a lefty all the way. I've got my Trump Weeble doll to prove that I'm a lefty. I get to ping him in the face. See, I'm a lefty. So anyway, man, it's been a wonderful sharing an hour with you. You keep doing what you're doing, keep writing, and hopefully you get that show up. We get out of this Twilight Zone episode that never ends.
Oh, it's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And I mean, like, you know, even the scripts that that you've consulted with me before, I'm working on getting those lift up somehow. Those you watching or listening, to be announced whenever COVID frigs off. So yeah, so I just like to thank my guest, Paul Peditto. Paul, where can people find you again? Like, you know, I'll put some posts on social media, but
for me, look for me on my blog at scriptgodsmustdie.com. And if you're looking to take a class in playwriting, go over to Screenwriting U and look up Intro to Playwriting. It's pretty. It's only a 4-week class, so it's pretty cheap. Or if you're writing TV or film, we could connect through Screenwriting U or Chicago Filmmakers or Second City. I'm teaching comedy pilots 101, 201 over at Second City, Intro to TV and Film. So check out the Second City site, and then we can work together.
Well, there we go. That sounds awesome. So, yeah, just want to thank Paul again, Paul Peditto, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for tuning into the show today. Next week, we'll be joined by Chris Matheson of CM Productions, also the man who helped kickstart my theater career by casting me in my first ever play. He will be joining us next week. And until then, so Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, all that is in our video description below. Find us on, so you guys know all that. Just check our video description. And this is our 5th episode, so I already have all the info on there. So thank you very much again, Paul. So
thanks, Franky.
This is Paul and Franky signing off. Thanks for joining us.